Hello and welcome to Sports Fan Entertainment here for a Tighten Up Wednesday as the Tennessee Titans prepare to go head-to-head against the Indianapolis Colts tomorrow night on Thursday Night Football. And it's going to be a very special edition of a Tighten Up Wednesday as I was unable to make a recap video for the Titans and Bears on Sunday. I had some really weird network connectivity, whatever the word is, issues on my original streaming laptop. So here I am on my older laptop, and then by the time I just gave up on that, it was too late, and I said, okay, I'll talk about Titans versus Bears in this video. So we're going to quickly do that, but first, let's get into the headlines of last week and this week, because there were actually a lot of headlines in the last week as it pertained to the Tennessee Titans. So let's begin with this. The Tennessee Titans trading for cornerback Desmond King, formerly of the Los Angeles Chargers, and thank you, General Manager John Robinson. This is exactly what this team needed, and you saw it on Sunday as Desmond King himself recovered a fumble that we needed ultimately to win the game on Sunday. So Desmond King already showing you what he could provide for this football team, primarily their slot corner, but a guy that can also play box safety, a guy that can also play free safety, a very versatile guy. Some people feared that, hey, he's not going to be a great fit with Amani Hooker. I'm saying, hey, wait a minute. These two cornerbacks, these two defensive backs can play well together for our defense. And hello, have you seen our secondary? You don't want more good players on our secondary. I think you do. So let's go ahead and add Desmond King. And then as soon as we can also get Adoree Jackson back from injury, and we'll get into him in a moment, all of a sudden this secondary could actually be decent. Now, I'm not going to get too excited for it. I'm already hearing people say, oh my gosh, Adoree Jackson, Malcolm Butler, and Desmond King. Well, first of all, you're forgetting that one of those three is not good. Okay, Malcolm Butler, you can keep saying the name as much as you want. The name means nothing to me anymore. He's not a good cornerback in this league. That's just the way it is. We've seen it for how many years? 2, 3 years? How many more years do you need to see it? The name Malcolm Butler doesn't excite me anymore. But if you're talking about Desmond King and Adoree Jackson, okay, that's a good duo there. I like that. Now we're talking. If Kevin Byard can step his game up, if Amani Hooker, hey, if he can rise to the occasion a little bit, Kenneth Carter is a little more comfortable now that Desmond King's out there and Adoree Jackson's out there, our secondary can look decent. It will not look great. It's just not going to, especially with this pass rush, which has mounting issues right now. So don't get your hopes up too high, but Desmond King, I'm happy to have him on, and if he makes enough plays this season, I want him extended potentially. Now, we have a lot of people to extend. We have a lot of priorities. Jonnu Smith this upcoming offseason. Corey Davis this upcoming offseason. There's a lot of names. Jayon Brown for you Jayon Brown fans, and he actually played decent this past game. So there's a lot of players that need to be re-signed. So, maybe he's not a high priority, but if the guy plays well, looking at our secondary that will likely have Malcolm Butler cut by next season, I am very interested in having Desmond King around next season. So the Titans traded for Desmond King. Not only that, they released Vic Beasley, Jonathan Joseph, and Bo Brinkley. Now, this was shocking. Even one of these names was quite shocking to me. I didn't think we were going to make any moves in terms of releases, in terms of major releases. These are 3 major releases. You're talking about Vic Beasley, who was signed this offseason to a sizable contract by John Robinson to essentially replace Jurrell Casey. The money was very similar between Vic Beasley and Jurrell Casey. All that money down the drain. Absolutely thrown money away, $9.5 million for Vic Beasley. And there's a reason why I came on this channel, this very channel. And I said when the Titans signed Vic Beasley that I had problems with this signing, that he was so unmotivated for the Atlanta Falcons that, yes, you can pinpoint the one season only in which he had the 15.5 sacks. You can that one season and say, oh, if we can only get that out of him. You're not going to get that out of him. The guy was playing for a 5-0 football team this year and didn't give a damn. He was happy to be released from a 5-1, 5-2 football team. This is what he was happy. So why anyone expected anything from Vic Beasley was a shock to me, and I expected something from him. I'll admit, maybe 4 or 5 sacks. He didn't give us that. So the Vic Beasley experiment was a total disaster, and I know Jurrell Casey is injured this season. So some of you may argue that it doesn't matter anyway. Well, if he's on our team, then he's not injured this season. Most likely, right? That's just the way it works out. So huge mistake there. I'm not trying to, harp on that because we all get it at this point. but it's still annoying. It's very, very, very annoying. And then Jonathan Joseph released. Now, I didn't think this was necessary because at the very end of the day, I think he's better than Ty Smith. Yeah, he's older. Yeah, he might be on a more expensive contract. I think he's better than Ty Smith. And now, his previous game before the Bears was an absolute disaster. His game against the Bengals was an absolute disaster. Make no doubt about it. His worst game of the season, one of the worst games by any of our cornerbacks this season. But I thought that was pretty strict and harsh to release him. I would have kept him around. Unless if he was really talking some smack in the locker room that I didn't like. But he's supposed to be a veteran. He's supposed to provide veteran leadership. Maybe he just really wasn't doing that. Maybe he was really toxic. Maybe he was really providing negative energy and wanted him out of there. But I'd rather have him than Ty Smith. He has some veteran qualities to him. But that was surprising. And then Bo Brinkley, the long snapper for the Tennessee Titans, also released. I mean, after the disastrous snap that was in the Cincinnati Bengals game, one of the worst snaps I've ever seen. It looked like a snap from a kindergartner. It didn't go more than 5 yards. Hit the ground, ruined the play, got Brett Kern injured. John Robinson obviously pissed, saying, Bo Brinkley, pack your bags, here are your papers, see you later. This was shocking. The 1, the 2, and the 3, I couldn't believe it. I mean, I really couldn't believe that John Robinson sent 1, 2, 3 packing like this. But the one thing that it did, I think it lit a fire under this team for the game against the Chicago Bears and maybe for the season to come. So now let's get into the Bears game. And we're not going to spend too much time on this because there's so much to discuss today. We still have to talk about the Colts. We still have so much to talk about today. But let's quickly talk about the game that was the Tennessee Titans versus the Chicago Bears and some of the takes that I had from that game. Well, firstly to me, I am not sure exactly what to feel when it comes to the game, because there are two very strong components in terms of how we looked in the game. Number one, our defense looked markedly improved. Okay, all of a sudden we were getting off the field on third down, we were creating turnovers, this was great. But was it because our defense was improved or the Bears offense, was just terrible? And it's been terrible all season. Which one was it? I'm not sure. Is anyone here sure that it just wasn't due to the fact that the Bears offense is just terrible? Because it looked pretty bad out there. I mean, there was nothing really impressive about these guys. I mean, Allen Robinson was running around making some nice catches, but Nick Foles is Nick Foles. I mean, this is one of the worst starting quarterbacks in the league. I don't care that he has his Super Bowl win. I don't care he had his playoff win after that. He's one of the worst starting quarterbacks in the league, and we know that. There's a reason why he was in Jacksonville last season, and he's nowhere near Jacksonville now, because they know that he is not worth a damn. We know that. We faced him. So don't talk to me about Nicholas Foles. So Nick Foles couldn't move the ball, and he still ended up with like 330 yards too anyway. Let's not forget about that. Now, there was a garbage, and it was pretty garbage, touchdown at the end of the game to even get him the, I want to say, third touchdown or second touchdown that he had on the game. Okay, I'll grant all that. But, they were still able to move the ball at times. I loved our rush defense, though. Now, the rush defense was markedly improved. Jim Montgomery couldn't get anything going. So I will buy into that. But I'm just not totally convinced that our defense was soft. I think it was better. It was not nearly as bad as it was against the Bengals, not nearly as bad as it was against the Jaguars, not nearly as bad as it was against the Vikings. But I'm not convinced yet. This Bears offense is awful. And even in this Colts game, we're not going to learn much more because the Colts offense isn't great either. So even if we come out looking great in this game, be a little cautious, right? Even against the Bills, we had a great defensive performance. Be a little cautious until we go up against those offensive juggernauts again, and we have one coming up after this week in the Baltimore Ravens, so look out for that. And then the other half of the component was our offense did not look good. But was that because the Bears defense is so strong? And I think so. Now, I would have liked to have had more success offensively. Don't get me wrong. But, man, those cornerbacks having tight coverage on our wide receivers. A.J. Brown still ended up somehow with over 101 yards. You can feel it with this guy. It is electric with A.J. Brown. Love that. Now, he did have the one drop, and this is why he is still ELIT, but no E. He's not elite yet. He still had the drop. If he would have got that catch, maybe he's elite right now. But he is approaching elite in this league, Mr. A.J. Brown. So I love that. Corey Davis, he was getting blanketed the entire day. I mean, this Kyle Fuller and this Jalen Johnson, they were all over our wide receivers in the game. So it was very difficult to determine, is our offense just really stagnant now? Like, what's going on with our offense? Because we were so bad in the first half against the Bengals. Or even in the second half, actually. It was just inconsistently for the whole game. Where is our offense at exactly? But luckily, with the defense being able to make plays and force turnovers, it didn't matter. But I wasn't convinced. It was nice to get the win. It was nice to go 6-2. It was great to go 6-2. And this is a record that puts you on pace for 12-4. That's a record that all of us would absolutely love. Now, will we actually hit 12-4? I don't know, because we have the Ravens coming up. We have the Packers at the end of the season. We have 2 matchups against the Indianapolis Colts. Those are difficult matchups. But I like our chances, okay? I like our chances right now. I'll stick with my 11-5 prediction because I think it's a great prediction right now. But I like our chances for 12-4. Outside of that, I mean, that was really my major takes from the game. It was nice to have a better pass rush. I mean, for you Derek Robertson stands, you guys actually had a lot of proof to your statements. Derek Robertson definitely was making more of an impact than Vic Beasley. The Titans ended up with 3 sacks, none of which were his, but I think his added pressure definitely helped the pass rush in the game. So I like seeing that from Derek Robertson and this Tennessee Titans pass rush. So with all of that said now, let's get to the Indianapolis Colts, this upcoming game against the Indianapolis Colts, Thursday Night Football. And let's look at the injury report. What can we see on the injury report? Well, we have some players that are out for this game, starting with Adam Humphries. This one is going to hurt a little bit. Because let me tell you, man, we're going to get into it in a second, but this Indianapolis Colts run defense, man, it is stout. Good luck running the football against that defense. We're going to need to have our wide receivers out there, and not having Adam Humphries is definitely going to hurt. Dane Cruikshank will also be out for this game, but with the addition of Desmond King, this doesn't hurt as much. Michael Pruitt will be out for this game. This is going to hurt in the run blocking because this guy is definitely a huge contributor when it comes to the run blocking, especially when it comes to the tight ends. And then Adoree Jackson, yes, he has been activated from IR, but he will be out for Thursday's game. Still going to take us some time to come back from this knee injury, so we're going to have to wait to see Adoree Jackson, Desmond King, and company out there for the secondary, unfortunately. And you look across the field at the Indianapolis Colts. You look at Jack Doyle, the tight end. He'll be out, and then the tight end, Mo Alley-Cox, is questionable. So the tight end core for the Colts could be hampered. This would be great news for us because God knows the Tennessee Titans cannot cover tight ends. We all know this. This is no secret when it comes to Tennessee Titans fans. So hopefully this is true that both of them will be out, and this will help our chances because at the very least, even with Adoree Jackson out, if our cornerbacks know the tight ends don't need to be feared, if our safeties know that, we can definitely attribute more attention to the wide receivers, and we don't have to worry too much about the tight ends. But then who knows what no-name tight end is going to rip us to shreds when it comes to Thursday night, because God knows we've all seen that as well. And then one more injury note, Jadeveon Clowney. So Jadeveon Clowney, so apparently he's having some meniscus issues. He might need a meniscus trim. He might need to have his meniscus repaired. I don't know. I mean, if someone has a meniscus to provide, give it to this man, because apparently he could be out for the season. He could be out for weeks. He could be out for no weeks. He could be out tomorrow. We don't know. It's really up in the air when it comes to Jadeveon Clowney and his status for this season. Very disappointing knowing the $15 million we invested in this man. We haven't gotten a sack yet. We don't know when we're going to get a sack. And I think he's played fine. Definitely not up to 15 million worth, maybe up to 8, and that's being generous. So this is frustrating. I mean, especially for me. I mean, I try to be a Jadeveon Clowney supporter. I try to back this man, and I will to a certain extent. But this is frustrating. I mean, he was supposed to be the key, the secret, the one that was going to push us over the edge, and he hasn't been up to this point. So that's frustrating. But hopefully this will be okay. I don't know, but that's just the headline for right now when it comes to Jadeveon Clowney and this football team. So with that said, we move on now to the Indianapolis Colts Thursday Night Football, Tennessee Titans, Indianapolis Colts. It's going down. What are my tighten up keys to the game? Well, let us begin with number 1. We have to keep forcing turnovers. I mean, ultimately, that's what really made the difference in last week's game. The ability for Desmond King and Jeffrey Simmons to recover the fumbles that they did, absolutely huge. And the forced fumbles also that were provided, I want to say Jeffrey Simmons got one, and then I can't remember who forced the other fumble, but I mean, huge plays there. Definitely need more of those type of plays in this upcoming football game, because without a doubt, I mean, we all know Phillip Rivers and his propensity to cause turnovers, to throw interceptions. They have a young rookie, a running back in Jonathan Taylor. You want to force the football out of their hands. You want to take advantage of their opportunities and also of those opportunities and create opportunities for yourself offensively. Create extra possessions for you to go out and score the football. Because again, this Colts defense is tough. They've allowed 10 passing touchdowns on the season to 11 interceptions for a 78.5 passer rating, and they're allowing 3.3 yards per carry. I mean, that is a stout defense. That's defense I wish we had. If we had that defense, that's Super Bowl. That's a Super Bowl without a doubt. We'd be having no discussion right now if we were having that defense in Tennessee. So we're going to have limited opportunities against the defense. I mean, they're almost probably going to shut down Derrick Henry. And I'm not one to doubt Derrick Henry, but hey, he had some struggles against the Bears, none of which I'm blaming him on, you know. But I expect the same against the Colts. And if our passing game doesn't step up, and that leads us into number two, time to make key to the game, get the passing game going again. We need to get it rolling and going again now. And it stinks because Adam Humphries will be out for this game. So that's one wide receiver that we're down. Khalif Raymond, step up to the plate. Make some plays. A.J. Brown, Corey Davis. For once, let's see the stars align. And it's kind of happened once this season, but not to the full extent. Let's really see the stars align with Corey Davis and A.J. Brown and see both of these men have a good game at the same time. I want an 80-yard plus game from both of them at the same time. I think we could do it. I think it's possible. I think they're definitely both capable of that. And I want to see it in this game, and I think it honestly is probably going to be necessary in this game. As Jonnu Smith will also provide, but I really think we're going to have to take advantage of these Indianapolis Colts corners. I think that's, where we're going to have to live primarily. But I mean, we're going to have to in a whole bunch of ways, to be honest with you, because, man, that defense is tough. But I think that's, the primary way we're going to beat this defense. So those are the two men that I'm looking at. Step up, get the passing game going early. And Ryan Tannehill, he's had some struggles. I didn't love his game against the Cincinnati Bengals last week. I didn't blame him too much, honestly. I thought it was tight covers last week. I didn't think he played that poorly. It wasn't great, but it wasn't that poor either. It was even actually, I think, maybe even nearly as best as he could have done. I'm telling you, their defense was tough. So get the passing game going early. Get Ryan Tannehill his confidence up early. Get A.J. Brown, Corey Davis, get them going early, and then tighten up. Number 3, key to the game, is limit the amount of mistakes. So pretty much opposite on number 1, how we need to keep forcing turnovers. We can't make turnovers. We can't miss field goals. We can't allow these bad sacks. We can't make these mistakes because the Colts will take advantage of those mistakes. They're a well-coached football team, well-run football team, a well-oiled machine. Frank Reich has been playing good football for the most part. The one that we can definitely take advantage of is that Phillip Rivers, man. He's going to give you some opportunities. He also could rip you to shreds. We all know that Chargers and Phillip Rivers and that history of them absolutely kicking our asses for damn near a decade. Okay, maybe even more than a decade, honestly. So we know the history of Phillip Rivers against his football team, and it's not a fun history. We definitely need to limit the amount of mistakes because if we give them extra possessions, give their offense more opportunities, if we have these snafus on special teams, botching snaps, missing field goals, all of this nonsense, all this ridiculousness, you can forget about this game because the Colts are too wound tight, and they've been looking forward to this matchup. I'm telling you, I know last week they lost to the Baltimore Ravens 24-10, but don't sleep on this team right now. They're a very dangerous team. There's a reason why they shellacked the Detroit Lions 42-21. There's a reason why they beat the Vikings as dominantly as they did, a team that we struggled with. Depending on the week with this team, they are so dangerous. So ultimately, what is my prediction for this game? What is my prediction for the Tennessee Titans versus the Indianapolis Colts? Well, ultimately, I'm going with the Tennessee Titans 27, Indianapolis Colts 23. Now, is there some bias here? Maybe a little bit, but I have confidence in this team. Sue me, because I probably shouldn't have picked them to win last week, and they certainly didn't play well offensively enough to win, but the defense stepped up. They did what was necessary. It's a Thursday night football game, a game in which I think they're really getting prepared for, and I just think it's going to be one of those nights where Phillip Rivers makes those mistakes and we take advantage. But if the Colts come out a well-oiled machine, ready to go, if we make those mistakes, make no doubt about it, people, the Colts can beat us, and they can beat us easily. And they could really knock us down a peg, tie us in the AFC South, and make us really say, oh, snap, we have a really, at that point, we'll be behind in the AFC South because they have a tiebreaker of us. And we'll still look good in terms of the playoffs, But those Super Bowl aspirations, I mean, we'll really start to look at ourselves and say, what are we talking about? If this is no Super Bowl team, if we come out and lose this football game like we could. But ultimately, I do have the Titans winning this game. It's going to be a close game. So have your eyes on it, Thursday Night Football. And I will be here after the game for my live game recap. So don't worry, okay? That was a one-time thing. I will be here for sure for that post-game recap. So there you go. Those are my thoughts on the Tennessee Titans versus Indianapolis Colts matchup and the headlines for the Tennessee Titans over the past 2 weeks. What are your thoughts? Comment down below. I want to know. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment, and most importantly, to subscribe. And until next time, this has been MJ of Sports Fan Entertainment, and I'm out. See you all later.